Shabbat Shalom, Israel. This is old school Brother Yahweh from the Three Hebrew Boys. And what I want to do is, I've noticed in a lot of the Israelite camps, there's not uh, a lot of old school. I've noticed that there's a lot of youngsters that's having problems trying to explain this truth to their parents and their grandparents. And I've come to the conclusion that there has to be something in between that can help uh, a lot of you young Israelites to try to explain this truth to your parents and your grandparents. So what I've decided to do is to make some videos that you can show your parents or your grandparents, uh, and maybe through the way I explain it, because a lot of times the way you explain things or the way you express yourself to someone that's in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, they're not going to understand or listen to a child that's 30 something years younger than they are. I mean, that's just common sense. Not that they won't get it, it's the way you coming at them. So sometimes you have to come up with an idea of how you can express this to your parents, because I know you want them to be saved too, and they don't quite understand if they don't wake up, because this is the time of awakening. And you don't want your parents to miss out on the kingdom, and your grandparents. So a lot of times you got to come up with an idea to get them to understand. Maybe get a person that's closer to their age, or mid-age person. So the videos that I've decided to put out is going after the older Gentiles, actually Israelites that are Gentiles. And I would try to use certain situations that they would understand and how they've been deceived. Because we've waken up, and the majority of the awakening is really the youth, actually. And the mid-age people, which is 40s and 50s, I'm in my 50s, we're blessed to understand this truth. Now, once you go over 60, 65, you're going to catch hell trying to get them uh, to see who they're following, and the lies that's been told to them for 30 or 40 plus years. That's a long time. That's it's hard to give up that many years, and you so used to that love doctrine. And a lot of older people, they just so glad that all the hanging is over with, and they don't want to be bothered, and they don't want to stir up any kind of trouble in their life in their elder years. That's why a lot of them back up, and they don't want to have nothing to do with this truth. Well, this is where I come into play, and because I'm coming full force, I'm not going to bite my tongue, and I'm just going to let them know. Uh, and sometimes it's better to hear it from someone outside the family, or a youngster that's just so young. So what I want to do, I'm going to start with Deuteronomy to show who we are, and that we are a holy people, and how blessed we were, how we failed. And then I'm going to show, if you don't wake up, especially the older people, what happens when they go to Hades being hard headed. And because most old school think that everybody that dies go to the right hand of the Father. Imagine how many people is at the right hand of the Father by now. They don't understand Hades and what happens after death. So I'm gonna start with Deuteronomy 7:6. and 6. Okay. Thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Now, this is talking about Israel, a chosen race of people. Of all the races that the Most High created, he pulled out one race after the flood through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And there was promises given, even though Isaac and Jacob, there was, other sons like Jacob and his twin brother. And you got to understand where the promises were going. And Isaac also had a brother, I think Ishmael, but the promises went to Isaac. So if they don't understand the promise, they only looking at two sons. I'm talking to old school. Okay, I'm gonna read it again. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. This is not to the world. The Lord thy God has chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people. Okay, now we're gonna go to Amos 3:1. Amos 3:1. Hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you, O children of Israel. You see, a steady pointing out Israel. Against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt. You see, the story of the people that came out of Egypt, old school, it was taught that was Middle Eastern people, when it was actually the 12 tribes of Israel, which the African American is the tribe of Judah. So that was actually our bloodline. That was those were our people that was in Egypt when we had to put the blood on the post, so the death angel would pass by. That was actually our people, and it need to be understood that that was us and not the Middle Eastern people. I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. And now you got, when the Catholic Church came about, they taught that God came for everybody, or Christ came for everybody, but he didn't. I don't know why they skipped past this. He only dealt with Israel. You only have I known of all families of the earth, therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities. What race of people went through slavery? There's only one race, and there wasn't those people that's over in Israel calling themselves Jewish. Them people were never on slave ships. This is how you can find your identity. That's why your pimp daddy preachers always telling you don't go into the Old Testament, because if you do, you'll find yourself. Catholic Church the same way, the government the same way. They don't want you to find out who you really are. Okay. You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities. Okay, from there, we're going to go to Isaiah 45:1. I'm just pointing out Israel, who Israel are and who we are as a race of people, because we're not African American. You know, when I found this truth, I was shocked and I was angry. All the years I'm thinking that we're African American, then come to find out there's no such thing as African American. It's not even a race. It was a lie given to us. I'll explain that too, and I'll show you where they got that garbage from. And here we are calling ourselves all holier than thou. We go to all the universities, get all their degrees, and turn around and call ourselves African American. That's why white folks laugh at us, because we're so stupid. We won't read. Isaiah 45:1. Isaiah 45. Isaiah 45:4, Shalaki. For Jacob, remember Jacob is our father, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We came out of Jacob. For Jacob, my servant's sake, and Israel, mine elect. You see, the elect is Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel, and we are from the tribe of Judah. We're a special people. I have even called thee by thy name. Now, I want to show you something. This is why this is to old school. Remember when Jacob was fighting with the angel and the angel broke his hip? And from that point on, he went from Jacob to Israel. Now, you go back into the 60s and the 70s. You remember a movie called Superfly? When that movie comes to your mind, think about Superfly and think about how he walked. Superfly walked like his hip was broke. Like that. That's the way we walk. Even to this day, we walk the same way. That blew my mind when I found that out. Okay, and back in the old days, all of the African American men had that little limp walk, and there would be times where, I mean, when I was a kid, some white kids would ask me, "Why do we walk that way?" I didn't know. Now I do, but I didn't know back then. That just shows you our bloodline, our heritage, and where we come from. We still got that limp. Just pay attention when you go outside, when you go to work. Watch your black co-workers. Some of your Mexicans do it too. Go to the mall and just look around and watch you see black men walking with that same limp that Jacob had when he got his hip broke. Showing you where we come from. Jacob's brother was Edom, which is actually the Caucasian race today. That was the twin brother, but Edom didn't get the promise. It went to Jacob. And there were some things that happened along the way that caused us to lose our blessing. I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me. I'll read it again. For Jacob, my servant's sake, and Israel, mine elect. So anytime you see elect, I think it's in the book of Revelation, it's talking about Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel. I have even called thee by thy name. I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me. And most of you don't, because you grew up under this Jesus. I'm going to blow that out the water too. Now let's go to Psalms 37 and 26. Psalms 37 and 26. He is ever merciful and lendeth, and his seed is blessed. Depart from evil and do good, and dwell forevermore. For the Lord loveth judgment and forsaketh not his saints. The saints are Israel. They are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. You see, now I'm going to go into I think it's Jeremiah, where Israel was divorced. And that's where the Sunday churches, the Christians, are getting that Israel is no more. And the Christ is coming back for the church. How wrong you are. For the Lord loveth judgment and forsaketh not his saints. They are preserved. That's Israel. That's us. He's coming back for Israel, not the world. That's Christianity. Now let's go to, now I'm going to go into Jeremiah, which is going to explain what we did after we came out of Egypt, when we were with Moses, and after we went into the promised land, which is Israel today, back then of the land of Canaan, and how we feel. That's Jeremiah 2. Jeremiah 2. Oh, that's Nehemiah. There we go. Jeremiah 2. 26. Jeremiah 2 and 26. Okay. As the thief is ashamed when he is found, so is the house of Israel ashamed. They, their kings, their princes, and their priests, and their prophets, saying to a stock, thou art my father, and to a stone, thou hast brought me forth, for they have turned their back unto me, and not their face. This is where we, as Israelites, we were turning against our God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But in the time of their trouble, they will say, arise and save us. Well, we do that today. Every time we get ourselves in trouble, we want to call on the Most High. But you old school, you actually calling the wrong God. This Jesus character, you're going to pay for that when you call on the wrong God, because you're going to, once you give up the ghost, you're going to be, you may ask questions. Didn't I do this? Didn't I do that? And all the good that you stocked up, it's not going to mean anything because it went to the wrong God. There are many gods. We left Babylon with 70 different angels, which were gods unto man. So there are many gods, but Israel God stayed. But where are thy gods that thou hast made thee? You see, let them arise if they can save thee in the time of thy trouble. For according to the number of thy cities are thy gods, O Judah. Wherefore will you plead with me? You all have transgressed against me, saith the Lord. See, this is when we started sacrificing to other gods and praying to other gods. This was long after we got into the land of Canaan and changed to Israel. We started going off pretty much like we do today. If you compare it to today, you look at all the different religions, and you got Israel. The main religion is Catholic. Israel, you got 12 tribes. Okay, you got 12 different nations. Where is that? I want to show you. I want to call off the names of the 12 tribes. So you will know who they are today, and you will see that all the 12 tribes today, I can't call them all out, the African American, Cuban, Puerto Rican, Jamaican, Haiti, Hawaiian, we're all spread out because of our sins that I'm reading out to you today. We're all spread out. And the Most High is saying, you calling me in your time of trouble, but you won't obey my laws, statutes, and commandments. In vain have I smitten your children. They receive no correction. Your own sword has devoured your prophets like a destroying lion. O generation, see ye the word of the Lord. Have I been a wilderness unto Israel, a land of darkness? Wherefore say my people, we are lords. We will come no more unto thee. Can a maid forget her ornaments, or a bride her attire? Yet my people have forgotten me days without number. Why trimmest thou thy way to seek love. Therefore hast thou also taught the wicked ones thy way. See, this is our grandparents, our forefathers. This is the sin that they committed. So you got the Catholic Church that came in the middle. You got Ishmael with the Muslims. They came in. Not only did they take us to slavery, but they changed our minds of who we were as Hebrew Israelites. And they got us going all kind of different ways. That's why it's saying how we forsaken him. Now go to, it is right here. Jeremiah 6. Jeremiah 3 and 6. Now watch this. The Lord said also unto me in the days of Josiah, the king has thou seen that which backsliding Israel has done. She has gone up unto every high mountain and under every green tree, and there has played the harlot. We went to all different religions, Buddha, Catholic, Islam, all these other religions, instead of staying with the Most High, because we're not of a religion. We're of the Most High. Religion means confusion in Hebrew. And I said, after she had done all these things, turn thou unto me. But she returned not. This is what you old school are not doing. You're not paying attention to this this truth that's coming out, this Israelite movement. You don't want to give your grandkids or your children a chance to show you. I'm going to read this again. But she returned not. That means you're not coming back to the Father. This is why I'm making my video, to come after you old school and to tell you need to wake up. If you don't wake up, it's gonna be a price to pay. And her treacherous sister Judah is the African American, saw it, and I saw when for all the causes whereby backsliding Israel, as all 12 tribes, committed adultery, I have put her away and given her a bill of divorce. There it is. That's what Christians use right there to say Israel is no more, or Israel is the church now. This is what they use. I'm going to blow that out the water too. Yet their treacherous sister Judah, African American, feared not, but went and played the harlot also. Okay? Now you know why we went into slavery. Try to turn this. And it came to pass through the lightness of her whoredom that she defiled the land and committed adultery with stones and with stocks. I mean, we were totally off. We did none of the law, statute, commandments. That's why Israel was split into two. You had the northern 10 tribes, and then you had two southern tribes with the 12, Judah and Benjamin. Levi was part of it, but it was mostly Judah and Benjamin. Judah was a larger tribe. We stayed in Israel. 721 BC, the northern 10 tribes, they were taken into slavery, Babylon, and they came to the Americas first. That's 721 BC. 70 AD, after Christ, because we're the ones that was pointing the finger at Christ saying, crucify him. That was African American people. That was us that did that. And Benjamin, which is, I think, the Jamaicans today. See, we thought that was Middle Eastern people. No, we did that. And in 70 AD, that's why we went into slavery, and they tore us apart. You don't want to know some of the things that they've done. All you know is the hanging. That's what you saw. But it was way beyond just hanging what they've done to us. But you old school remember some of the things, because when they was taking little black babies and use them as alligator bait in the 50s and 60s, y'all knew that. See, this is why you old school need to wake up. But you youngsters don't know it because you don't have the wisdom to go after older people like that, to bring up situations back in their younger days. You see, and you old school, you remember the postcards that they used to have? And they would have a black child running and an alligator going after it. That was a postcard. depicting using them as alligator bait. I think it was in Florida, over in that area. And let's see what tribe that was. The Seminoles, I think it was, Indians. But anyway, and here's another thing I want to bring out: all these different names that they're giving us: African American, Cuban. All those are bywords. I'm gonna read that in Deuteronomy 28. That's a bunch of garbage. As a matter of fact, you want to still call yourself African American? This is what you're calling yourself, right there. See? That's what you're calling yourself. Yeah. See? Scipios Africana. Scipios Africana was a general in the Roman army that took over Africa. Okay? And Americana Vespucci, he the one that actually founded America, not no Christopher Columbus. Matter of fact, let me see if I can. Psalm 49. I'm gonna go to Psalm 49 right quick. This is how they came with this name, African American. We were so dumb we bought it. Scipio Africanus was at the Battle of Hannibal. That's how he conquered Africa. Psalm 49:11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their land after their own name. This is what Esau did, the Caucasian race. Everywhere they go, every land they conquered, they named it after themselves. They didn't go with the name the Most High gave them, which were Edomites. Okay? Edom means red. Even to this day, they still eat their meat medium rare. Okay? And they changed the name of everybody according to the land. That's not a bloodline. So when you ask somebody that's from France and you say, where you from? They'll sit there and say, I'm French. Or somebody from England, Ireland, they'll say they Irish. America, African American. If you notice, when you ask a white person that's from America, who are they? Or what's their bloodline? They always say Caucasian. They never say white American. Always Caucasian. But when you ask other races in America, where they're from or who are they, they'll say African American, China American, Mexican American, so on and so forth. But white America never call themselves American because that's Americana Vespucci. Okay. Jeremiah. Okay. Now, back to Jeremiah 3:8, 3 and 9. And it came to pass through the lightness of her whoredom that she defiled the land and committed adultery with stones and stocks. And the Lord said to me, verse 11, the Lord said unto me, the backsliding Israel has justified herself more than treacherous Judah. You see? So now, since we was worshiping other gods and we started sacrificing our children to Moloch under this six-pointed star, which is not the Star of David, it's the Star of Megan David. That's not the Israelite David. That's a totally different David. And they would use their star to, a matter of fact, David's son was doing that. Let's see if I can. Jeremiah. No, not Jeremiah. Sorry. So Shalaki. Let's see. Let me go to Deuteronomy. Solomon. Solomon was doing the sacrificing. That's why he had the many wives. That's why the Most High did not want Israel to go outside of its nationality because they would turn him away from his God. And Solomon has, I think he has 700 wives or something like that. He got to the point where he just forgot all about the law, statutes, and commandments and our holy days. I'm going to go into Deuteronomy, and I'm going to show you, because of all of that, this is what happened. Deuteronomy 28:15. Deuteronomy 28. I'm going to read 28:1 first. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. And that did happen. We was above all nations at one time. And we didn't, when we went to war, we didn't lose not one person. And as Esau grew, we used to war with them all the time and would tear their butts up. But we were under the law, statute, commandments that was given to Moses. Now, that's the Old Testament. Now, that didn't change. Like Sunday churches, Christians are saying, after the crucifixion, everything was done away with. I'm going to find that in Matthew to show you that when Christ came back, he came to change nothing. The only thing that was done away with was the sacrificing, because almost every time we did certain sins, there had to be a sacrifice of a lamb. And some sins caused the death penalty. See, so the laws for us as Hebrew Israelites in those days were very strict. Okay, now that's 28:1. Now go 28:15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Here is where you're going to see who you really are. These curses right here. And we're going to see if these curses fit those idiots that's over there in Israel calling themselves Jewish, that stole our identity after 70 AD. And time passed, because not there was an open land. After we left Israel, we went into Africa, over the Atlas Mountains, and we started populating Africa. Africa, there was a lot of land that was inhabited. There was nobody there. So that's why today they want to say that we're Africans, that we're Hamites. We're going to see if African Americans are Hamites, because black educated people in this country, African Americans, love to call on Africa as our homeland. Let's see. Here's Ham. This is the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. Okay. Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races. And they stop right there and say all black people from Africa. Original. And one of the 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, but not the Negroes. I'm going to read that again. It's not registering to some of you old school. The youngest son of Noah, born probably 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, but not the Negroes. You see? So who are the Negroes? The Negroes come from Shem, not Ham. We only populated Africa because we ran out of Israel. Israel is our homeland. When we came out of Egypt, after 40-something years, we were going into the land of Canaan. We made war with the Canaanites, and their blood was mixed with the fallen angels. We pushed them and the giants into the mountains called Mount Seir, which is where Esau went and started populating his seed. When we took over the land of Canaan, it was changed to Israel because we were the children of Jacob. Remember, Jacob's name was changed to Israel. Okay, then after this character, where is this? I'm gonna show you the guy that set Rome on fire. Set Rome on fire, blamed it on us. Okay. Nero was the one. I don't know if you can see it. Nero was the one that set Rome on fire and was playing the harp. I think it was 6 cities or something in Rome, and he set it on fire. I think the next emperor was the one, Titus, I believe it may have been, that blamed it on the Jews. Okay, back then there was no such thing as a white Jew. All Jews were black, and they knew it. The name Nero is proverbial for murder, rape, sodomy, incest, cruelty, and every kind of crime imaginable. This is what Nero did. Nero was a character. He was a character. There it is. Nero burned Rome, blamed it on the Christians. It's saying Christians, but we're the ones that were following Christ, which was because Christ was from the tribe of Judah. Actually, his name wasn't even Christ. It was the Messiah. Nero fiddled while Rome burned. In the first recorded false flag operation in history, he set fire to Rome and blamed it on the Christians. See, which was actually the Jews at that time, because we followed the Messiah. Okay, this Christ thing that came from this character. Serapis Christus. That's where that garbage comes from. Serapis Christus, right there. Okay, he had followers. Serapis Christus, Greco-Roman, 135 BCE. The marble image of the London Museum is the image they use of Christ today. Christus was also the nickname for Serapis. See, and then when he came along, this one here, you know it's Christ, right there. Okay, Cesare Borgia, okay, from the Borgia family. Rodrigo Borgia, Pope Alexander VI, that's his son. All they did was put them two names together, and that's how you got Jesus Christ. See, all this kind of stuff. See, once we fell, they made up all kind of stuff. All kind of history is what we're living by today. And through time, because it's been so long, we became complacent with it. And so we just, especially black folks, we don't want to read nothing. So we just go along with it. They ain't hanging us no more, so don't start no trouble. That's crazy. Cesare Borgia had a sister named Laquisha. And if you go to the painting of the Lord's Supper, You will see LaQuisha in that painting twice. Serge Bozier is in that painting 3 times. And it's supposed to be, I think, 12 or 13 different people. But it's not. See? The real Lord's Supper is over in Russia. They have the real painting of all black 12 disciples, you know, with Christ there. They had a drawing, a contest drawing between Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. Serge Bozier, right here, who you see right there, Serge Bozier, that's who you call Christ. That's Serge Bozier. That's who you know him today, right there, as Christ. Okay? This guy here was a character. See? Slept with his sister, LaQuisha, and her father did too. That's why most of the people in Rome didn't care for the Bozier family. They hated the Bozier family. Read about it. Get a book called Tip Type to Poison and read that book. I know you black folks don't like to read, but you need to understand that when you say Jesus, this is who you calling on. A character that they made up at the Council of Nicaea in, I think, 321. See, so you got the answer to that when you give up the ghost. And I'm going to show you what happened when you give up the ghost. And if you old folks don't wake up, you're in a world of trouble. They lied to us. Sorry, but this is the time of their awakening. That's Hosea 6:2. In 2,000 years, I'll awaken my people. And this is what's going on now. Right about 2004, 5, something like that, this Israelite movement started escalating, and people started coming into the truth. Most of them were young people and a few middle-aged, right in 40s, 50s, something like that. But you old school, 60s, 70s, and 80s, you need to wake up and give them kids a chance to talk to you. I know they may talk to you a little bit different. It's hard to look at them and see how they're coming with truth, but they're coming straight out of scriptures that Sunday churches refuse to tell you anything about. You know what? It's called a 501c3. It's a tax form that Sunday churches fill out so they won't have to pay taxes on the money that y'all give. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with giving the churches. That's not my point. My point is, because of that, let me back up. When we came out of slavery and we wanted to teach our own scriptures, there used to be a guy in every black church from the IRS to make sure that they teach the scriptures according to the way we was taught in slavery. Okay, they took our book, they took our records. When we were in slavery, we wasn't allowed to read, so only they can read to us. So when slavery was over, we had to continue that mindset of not letting these people know who they are. One thing about Israel, if we wake up and worldwide, because we spread it out all everywhere, but if Israel can wake up as a whole, especially Judah, because when Judah wake up, the rest of them wake up. And once Israel wake up, the world is in trouble because the world was built off our backs. We built every world ruling government that there ever was, from Babylon, Greece, Rome, all the way down to America. Every world ruling government, we are the ones that built it off of our backs. So if we could just wake up, Christ will come back sooner, and the time for the Caucasian race and Ishmael, Esau, would be over, and they know it. So they come up with a program called NASA. They got you thinking that they out there looking for other planets or Mars or something like that, when there's no such thing. There's only 3 planets in our system. There is no 9 planets. That was a lie to get you to give money to the program, to NASA, so they can build a defense system. They know Christ is coming, and they need something to fight him before he comes into our solar system, onto our earth. They want to fight him before he gets here. It's going to be a mess if we living during that time. Now, this ain't tomorrow, but this is part of scripture that Sunday ministers will not tell you. That's why Christianity is nothing but a lie, a big time lie, a delusion. Just like the Bible says, he would give us a strong delusion. But this is the time of the awakening. We got to wake up. If you don't wake up, you know, and let's say you give up the ghost before he comes, you still going to have to answer to this Jesus character. You're going to have to explain that, especially in this time, because the truth is out there now. Let me continue. I'm going to get too far off track. Okay, that was Deuteronomy 28:15. We're going into the curses. Cursed shall thou be in the city. Cursed shall thou be in the field. Cursed shall thou be in the cities, your ghettos. Going to any major city, I don't care what state it is. California, Philadelphia, Texas, Detroit, New York. There's always several ghettos. And for you Mexicans too, you're not counted out. You got ghettos too. You're from the tribe of Issachar. Okay? Cursed shall thou be in the field. That was during slavery, picking cotton and peas. Cursed shall thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of the body and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kin, and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shall thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shall thou be when thou goest out. From the time you born to the time you die, you're going to be accursed. Now, you old timers, go back in the 40s and 50s and think about how hard your grandparents had to work in the 1800s, right after slavery, or even during slavery. They were slaving little black kids from the age of 3 and 4 years old. And they was raising them up to be slaves. In the 30s and 40s, when we couldn't find no jobs, we had to live off the land. Cursed shall that be when thou comest in, and cursed shall that be when thou goest out. And we still curse to this day. Now, they done let a little weight off today because we could become doctors, firemen, policemen. You know, we got jobs that we couldn't get. That's why you old timers don't want to stir the pot. You see, things are okay now. You think you breathing, but you forgetting what's about to come. They stirring up some trouble over there in the Middle East. You think it's a little peace, but in actuality, it's not. And a lot of you guys, even with the ones with good jobs, making 80 to 100,000 a year, how is it that you living paycheck to paycheck? You still catching hell. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke in all that thou seest shine hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. See, this is what our forefathers did. And it passed right down the line through slavery because we forgot who we were. We forgot we was Israel because of slavery. And we continue the sin of our forefathers. The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee until he have consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess. The Lord shall smite thee with the consumption and with a fever and with the inflammation. This happened to the northern tribes when Christopher Columbus came to America, when they gave smallpox to the Gadites, the tribe of Gad, which they call today the North American Indians. Okay. And when they killed off the tribe of Gad, and Gad, I'm going to tell you something about Gad, because they have a huge lie on this Christopher Columbus guy, murderer. When they came to America, the Gadites were sitting in trees. They was watching them. And they would come on, I think maybe a few weeks passed. Finally, the Gadites, Hebrews, would go went out and tried to, talk to him, be friendly with him, gave him a hand. Eventually, the Gadites showed them how to live off the land, brought them in. And I think maybe 6 months, I don't know how much time Christopher Columbus spent there, but they were showing them how to live on the land. Basically, they just welcomed them to the new land. Christopher Columbus went back and came back, I think a year or so later, with several ships full of warriors. And they came back and started slaughtering the Gadites, or the North American Indians. Even after they were friends with them, showed them how to build homes, how to live in the wintertime. They started going to different tribes and killing them off. And they would have a feast after every killing. The governor, I don't think he was in Massachusetts or something like that, said that you don't have to feast after every killing of the villages. Just have it once a year. Well, that's what you call Thanksgiving. This is where Thanksgiving came from. The killing of the Gadites, stealing the land, taking the land. So Christopher Columbus is not who they say he is in these schools, these colleges and high schools. It's a huge lie. That's Edom. Edom lied about just about every land they took. They'll sit there and say that they was already there. See? And when you go to some European nations and they say, I'm Irish. They don't want to say they're Edomites. They'll never confess that. They'll say Caucasian before Edomites, because Caucasian, they came from the Caucasus Mountains. You have to go deep into history to understand this. And the reason I'm bringing this up to you, because if they lied about that, they'll lie about everything else. And I'm trying to tell you, old school, that you've been lied to the majority of your life. And if you sit down in your 70s and 80s, at least find out who your God is. His name is actually Ahia. And the Indians, North American Indians, used to sing a song. Remember when you was kids back in the 50s and you see them Western movies and they'll show the Indians going around a fire saying Ahia, 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 Ahia. They were saying Ahia. I thought they was crazy. I didn't know what they were saying until I came into the truth. That's why you have to give your kids or your grandkids a chance to show you something. They may not know how to explain it to you, but if you give them a chance and look at your history when you were in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, then you can compare what you saw in your lifetime to these scriptures. Because Ahia, they even call that name to this day, certain tribes of the Indians. You see? And this, I know you like to use the word God. Here's another one for you. Write down the word God and then spell it backwards and see what you get. Okay? Okay, Deuteronomy 28:23. And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. The Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust. From heaven shall it come down unto thee until thou be destroyed. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed unto all the kingdom of the earth. You see that? Shall be removed unto all the kingdom of the earth. That's when we were leaving Israel. We were taken as slaves, the northern 10 tribes. You know, Babylon, we went from there. We went from to other nations, England, all up in the European area. They came to the Americas. At that time, America had a different name. I can't call it right now. But this was before the North American slave trade. This was 721 BC, 720, 718 on down. And thy carcasses shall be meat unto the fowls of the air and unto the beasts of the earth. And no man shall fray them away. That's in your younger days, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Every other day they would sit there and hang us. Every time you turn around, there was a hanging. And they would just leave the body there. Okay. And the reason, I'm gonna show you something. The reason they was hanging us, I'm gonna show you this. I don't want to lose my spot. The reason they was hanging us, let's go to Acts. Acts 5 and 30. There we go. Acts 2, 5 and 30. Listen to this. The God of our fathers raised up Jesus, whom ye slew and hanged on a tree. Now, we know Christ was hung, like that. And there wasn't no wooden post. Christ, it was actually a tree stump, actually. There wasn't no wooden post like you see on these photos. Okay? Whom he slew and hanged on a tree. Okay? Now, think about it. Didn't Christ tell us what they do to me, they're going to do to you also? They knew Christ was from the tribe of Judah. And they was hanging Judah during slavery and after slavery because they know Christ came from our bloodline. Where did this blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy come from? What? No, not that one. Where he come from? Where that come from? The hanging came from the black Christ. His name is Yeshua. Okay, not Jesus. Even though they got Jesus all in this book, his name is Yeshua. Yeshua means Savior. Yeshua is my Savior. Okay. Whom he slew and hanged on a tree. Now, this is in the Bible 5 times. Okay. I'm just picking this out. I don't want to lose my spot. But that's where they came up with the hanging us on trees, the idea, because they know our bloodline is from Judah. Why is it that we don't know that? How stupid can we be to allow Christianity to continue washing our minds and keeping us dumbed down? Okay, if they hung Christ, and I'll show it to you that it was a tree stump. Hung him on a tree. Think of this one here. I get going. No. There it is. I think this is it right here. There you go. In some cases, the condemned was forced to carry the crossbeam to the place of execution. A whole cross would weigh well over 300 pounds, but the crossbeam would not be quite as burdensome, weighing around 100 pounds. So the whole thing that went up and then went across was a total of 300 pounds. So it couldn't have been the cross that we see today. It was actually a stump that he had to carry. And that's why come he couldn't make it all the way because the thing was too heavy. And when they crucified him, it was much worse than what you see, what they tell us. As a matter of fact, he didn't even have no clothes on. And his face was so messed up, it was unrecognizable because they was pulling his hair, his beard out of his face. See? Well, they didn't want to tell you that. See, it's too gruesome. They only leave enough to where you think it was him. See? And not the black Christ from the tribe of Judah. Let's keep going. 26. And thy carcasses shall be, 27. The Lord will smite thee with botch of Egypt, and with the emeralds, and with the scab, and with the itching thereof thou canst not be healed. Those are diseases. The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. That was when we had to sit there and watch them beat us on our backside. Okay. You know what's sick about that? When they was beating us on our back, they made a movie called Planet of the Apes, the last one. And that was making a mockery, showing that they still got hate for us. It was a mockery that when they took that whip and they beat the ape, I started to walk out the theater when I saw that part because they still calling us apes and monkeys. It's 2018, but that was 2017. But still, they still look at us as apes and monkeys. Sat there and made a movie and made a mockery of us, and nobody protested. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. Now, this should hit old school big time. See, the book of Deuteronomy, old school, this should hit home with you, and this should wake you up in the book of Deuteronomy, because a lot of you that's in your 70s, 80s, if you're in your 90s, can relate to these curses back then. You go back in the 70s, I mean, I can go back to the 60s when black folks were just, even when they finished college, didn't know what their future was. And you're sitting there with a college degree, or you finished high school. Nobody wanted to hire you. So you would sit there and here come these babies. And you sitting there sad, not knowing your future. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled. Thou shalt be betrothed a wife, and another man shall lie with her. That was slavery. When the slave was to marry, guess who had first shot at her? The slave master. And then they give her back to the slave. See? And sometimes they would just come and just want to have sex with your wife and just come get her. Go on in the house. Bring her back to you. You finish picking them peas. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell in them. Those are the homes we were building for the slave master, including the White House in Washington, D.C. We built plantation homes, but we didn't live in. We had to go live in the outhouse, right next to the toilet. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes from there. That's all that should get: cotton, peas, corn, but it wasn't for us. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat therefore. Thine ass shall be violently taken away, and before thy face, and shall not be restored. Thy sheep shall be given unto thy enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. We were stripped of everything. Thy son and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand. When the slaves came to the new land, came off some slave ships, the slave went one direction and the child went the other direction, especially like 3 or older. They were separated. And some kids on the plantation, as the children grew up, they were taken and sold to another master. And I'm sure you old timers know this, but you need to understand that this is in scripture. When your pastor tell you, don't go into the Old Testament, don't read this book, don't read that book, never let someone tell you don't read a book, because they told us that garbage in slavery. Don't read. And here you are, some Israelite camps and some pastors will sit there and tell people, black folks, don't read this book because it's not carnal. Man, white folks read everything they get their hands on. That's why they always a step ahead of us. I'm saying read everything you can get your hands on. And read it, go into it and learn your history and see what you're missing. I'll never let nobody tell me don't read this book because it ain't carnal. We're Israelites. We're Hebrews. Okay, back in the old biblical days, anything came out of our mouth was from the Most High. The 12 disciples, anybody he inspired to write was a Hebrew. So how can you say don't read this book like this right here? That right there. The Apocrypha, okay? That book was in the Bible, but you got Christians, educated Christians, saying that's not a carnal book when it was in the Bible to begin with. They took it out. They took the book out because it exposes Esau and the Catholic Church. It tells you who they really are. See? Read anything you get your hands on, old school, so you can bring yourself back to your God. You got a God that's sitting here waiting on you to come back. And you steady loving this little faggot here who wanted to have sex with his own sister. And she had sex. I think she went through 3 husbands before she finally married a guy. I think she was 22, if I'm not mistaken. And Serge Bozier murdered, I think, her second husband. The first husband didn't want to be with Lucretia because there was a rumor that her dad was boning her. See, all these come out of books. See, so you got to read anything you get your hands on. Matter of fact, I'm gonna show you the book. Hold that right there. Just type report. Where is it? Sorry about that. There it is right here. Get that book. Get that book right there. Triptych of Poisoners. Okay? And read it. Okay? And quit going to your pastors asking them, is this book okay? That's another bunch of garbage. Asking your pastors about a certain book. Naturally, they're going to knock it down because they have to keep your mind on a certain level. They have to keep you dumbed down. And since they don't have to pay taxes, that's just like Edom saying, good job, boy. Good job. Job well done. Keep us dumb and stupid. You never heard Al Sharpton say anything to his congregation about what I'm telling you. The history part. Not so much scripture, but the history. A lot of this history is in scripture, but you got to go into history books. Books that people have written. One is the Apocrypha, and 2, this guy here, Rudolph Windsor. from Babylon to Timbuktu. Okay? These are scholars. These are our people. Okay? Our people wrote this. I'm going to see if I can prove to you that we was in Israel. There you go. In the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, like I was telling you, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. That was us. That was the Jew, the tribe of Judah in Rome, with great slaughter. During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. See, a lot of us left when they was coming after us. I'm talking about millions left. It was already over the Atlas Mountains into Africa. But a lot of us stayed. Over a million something of us stayed in Israel. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa. See? Fleeing from Rome, persecution, and slavery. Now, this is when Rome was coming. There are a lot of Jews that left long before then. So it was well over 2 million Jews, but that many Jews left when the Romans were coming. Fleeing from the Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets were full of black Jews. See? I don't know if you can see it right there. See? Slave market was full of black Jews. Okay? So explain to me who are them people over there in Israel today that's saying they want their land back in 1948 when England war with Palestine to put them over there. That was the Rothschilds making a deal with England to pull America into World War II. And they asked England to give them that land so they would have a land of their own, the Jewish people, the fake Jews. So they would have a land of their own. So now today, because so much time has passed, people are saying that land was given back to them. Scripture said Christ is going to bring us back in that land and gather us from all four corners of the earth because we will spread it out. Christ is going to take us back. The Jewish people got there from England in 1948. Okay, the Prince of Egypt made a statement saying, how did the Jews leave black and come back white? He said that in one of their UN meetings. And this is the scripture that goes along with what I just read. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there shall there serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. Our fathers knew nothing about no Jesus Christ person. They called him the Messiah. Even wood and stone. That's Deuteronomy 28:64. Wood is Christianity. Stone is your cobblestone. See? Islam. Stone is Islam. Wood is Christianity. This is called other gods in the Deuteronomy 28:64. See? I'm going to read it again. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth and even unto another. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. See, when we came on the transatlantic slave trade on those ships, we knew nothing about Christianity and we knew nothing about Islam. See, and our fathers didn't either. So this is where they come from. Then you go back to the early verse and you will see in 70 AD, after we sat there and said, crucify him, which was us, This is what happened in 70 AD. See? This book matches up with scriptures because it's scriptures it's in there, telling you where to go find it in scripture. This prophecy and all the residue of the prophecies contained in Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 28. That's what I'm going through right now, 15 through 28 in the Holy Bible. See? King James Version, 1611. Don't get no NIV because you can have some words changed in there. See? This is from Babylon to Timbuktu is the book. You got to get off that couch. You got to get off that recliner and get in these books and wake up, people. I'm talking old school. Young school is already ahead of us. I seen them young cats, man. They quote them scriptures like it ain't nothing. I'm 53 years old. It don't take me but a second. I done forgot where it was. I remember what I read, but I forgot where it was. I'm getting older. See? But I'm not the kind of person that will not listen to someone because they, 20, 25, 30 years younger than me. You think? I wanted to show you something else. Okay, overdrive. Look at these. This was in 14, 15, 1600s. I'm going to show you something. This is out of the Apocrypha. This is First Maccabees 3 and 48. And lay open the book of the law, which is the Bible, wherein the heathen has sought to paint the likeness of their images. Sought to paint the likeness of their images. This happened, what they call the Middle Ages. They call it the Dark Ages. See? Paint the images of the likeness of their image. See, that's Esau. See, we ruled what they call the Dark Ages is because black people were ruling. I think it was 193 AD was the last time Esau ruled from Rome. And when it fell for 1,000 years, black folks ruled Europe. They'll never admit it, but you can't erase history. And in these books, it tells you that we ruled in that time period. Now, during that time, in the midst of that time, there was a black man by the name of King James. Now, they done lied and said that man was white. Said he had sex with his mother. His mother was in prison when he was 2 years old. So how did that happen? See, all this confusion to keep you confused from finding out who you are. King James, if I'm not mistaken, was from the tribe of Judah. Now, I might be wrong, but I know he's an Israelite. And he put all those 70 scholars, put all those scrolls together and created that one Holy Bible. And the Apocrypha was in it. See? All these lies, all that happened when the Most High, what I'm reading out of Deuteronomy 28 and all these curses, and we start going into slavery, all these changes took place. Now that so much time has passed, black folks so lazy, we don't want to dig into the past to find out what really happened. Youngsters do it because they got time. But when you over 65, 70, 80s, 90s, you feel like you don't have time. But I'm going to read to you what happens if you don't. It doesn't make a difference if you 80-something years old and you've been doing this so and so long. Let me go to, I'm going to skip some of these and go to Deuteronomy 28:68. This knocks the ball out of the ballpark. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By the way, therefore, I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall say, you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy thee. That's when they put us on auction blocks. You know, sold to Mr. Johnson, sold to Mr. Smith. Okay, now, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Let me explain Egypt, in case you want to go to your pimp daddy pastor and read that to him, and he lie and don't explain to you what the ship Egypt is. Exodus, I think it's Exodus 20:1. My other two brothers are not with me. We're actually called the three Hebrew boys. Sometimes you will see us together, the three of us together. But I wanted to do this because I think the old school, that they should have an opportunity to understand that they're Israelites and not no African American. Exodus 20:1. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. See, so Egypt means bondage. Now, go back and read it again. Deuteronomy 29, Deuteronomy 28, 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into bondage again with ships, by the way thereof I spake unto thee. What race went into slavery by ships? The Jewish people over in Israel. They bought the ships, they drove them, they wasn't packed in like sardines. See? Just trying to wake you old school up. This is our book. This is our records. It belongs to us. They took it, they changed it when we went into slavery. Before, after slavery, they did all of this changing from King James. King James and the Pope at that time, I think of 1500 back in that time, they never got along. They couldn't wait to get rid of King James. And I think the one that told the lie on King James, they had it in a movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, Conan, the first Conan the Barbarian. And he was standing, those of you that remember the movie, it was toward the end. He was waiting for the army to come, and Conan, I think, was talking to his God. And I think he called out the name Cromwell, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Or the female that he fell in love with asked him who his God was, and he said Cromwell. Well, Cromwell was the guy during King James' time that after King James died, I think they beheaded him. He the one that started the lie. See, so they called him in the movie Cromwell a god and allowed the Catholic Church to take over and change the record. History. If you don't know history, you might well push that Bible to the side, because Christianity is going to lead you astray, because they don't bring in history. They'll read one verse and they do some kind of magic trick. God, oh God, God, oh God, God, oh God. And everybody lose their mind. They haven't taught you nothing. And when you go to church on Sunday, 11 o'clock, and get out at 1 or 2 o'clock, you still calling yourself African American. You ain't learned nothing. I'm going to try to speed this up. Before I go into what happens after, another curse. You want to know why that they're getting away with all, these cops are getting away with all this killing? I'm going to read this. Probably can't see it because it's blurry. Okay. It's a bill that they use. And this is how these cops are getting off. Judgment reversed and suit dismissed for lack of jurisdiction. Persons of African descent cannot be, nor were ever intended to be, citizens under the U.S. Constitution. Plaintiff is outstanding to file a suit. This is what they use when they kill them little black kids. I just wanted to throw that in there. Because every time you see a killing, eventually the cop just get off. That's what they go get. Now we're gonna go into the Revelation 3. Revelation 3. Revelation 3, 8 through 9. And I know thy works. Behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. For thou hast a little strength, and hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not. That's your Jewish people. That's the people over in Israel. They were around during crisis time. When Christ told them, you are of your father, the devil, and the lust of your father you would do. That's this bloodline. I will make them come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. I will make them the synagogue of Satan. And they live under the Talmud, which is a evil Babylonian book. Just to show you that Christ knew about these false Jews, these fake Jews. And I hope you just think about this and understand and try to get away from the African American garbage. You know, you could thank Jesse Jackson for that. I think he helped to push that. There was one back in Deuteronomy where it says you will be called a byword. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth and even unto another. And there thou shalt serve other gods which thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy feet have rest, but the Lord shall give thee there trembling heart and failing of eyes. I want to get to the where it said we will be called bywords. There it is. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations whither the Lord shall lead thee. I'm going to read it again. And thou shalt become an astonishment. As astonishment was back when they had us in cages with little apes on our side, and I think it was in the European area, somewhere in Europe. We were in a zoo, and they would have little apes, and they have like a young black kid walk around, and we were an astonishment to them. You know, that they looked at us like we were crazy. And even to today, they do the same thing. But this goes back to then. A proverb and a byword. A proverb and a byword. Nigger, spook, boom, baboon, all the names that they call us. African American is a byword. Mexican is a byword. Calling yourself Cuban. Okay, calling yourself Hawaiian. I'm Puerto Rican. All those are bywords. All those names they called us when the body was hanging up on a tree. And about 20 something Edomites standing there watching, taking pictures. The last word that Hebrew heard when they was hanging him on the tree before he gave up the ghost, the last word he heard was nigger. See? So that's a word a lot of you youngsters really need to stop saying, calling yourself. Nigger does not mean black. I don't know where that comes from. Negro means black, but not nigger. Nigger has a totally different definition. And you can ask these old schools in their 60s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, does nigger mean black? Now you can look up Negro. In Italian, that means black. Okay. In Greek, I think I got something on that. I don't know where I put that one. Don't think nigger means black. You're just not gonna get me with that one. I'm sorry. It's a byword. Okay, savage. Now this is like a Chinese and from China that I got off the internet because we were slaves in China too. Okay, since the Arabs brought sub-Saharan Africans to both areas, most Kunlun slaves in China lived in Canton province. They were generally viewed as a displaced people who lacked the ability to adapt to the Chinese environment. And it was like that even in America. We couldn't adapt when they were trying to make us pick cotton and all that stuff. We didn't understand that. And in the beginning of that, we had a hard time doing that. So that's when Edom was calling us all kind of names, you know, especially the word nigger when they got angry because we didn't understand what they wanted us to do. They were also described as savages with unintelligible speech because we spoke Hebrew. We didn't speak their language. See, so you can take this nigger and go different ways with it. But you'll never get me to believe that nigger means uh, black. That's why I make these videos for old school because I see things a little bit different. I want to wrap this up. This is the book of Josephus. Okay, he was also a Hebrew Israelite. The book of Josephus. I'm gonna read to you what happens when you don't want to listen. When we give up the ghost, I want you to listen to this. Josephus was talking to the Greeks. He took records of our people. And that's all we ever did. All we did was we were writers, scientists, we were all of that. We were educated people back in the day. This is what happens when you give up the ghost and you don't and you continue to not listen to your grandkids or your children showing you this Israelite movement, this truth. Here's what happens when you give it the ghost. There's no next to the Father. Everybody die, go up to heaven. Everybody go to a place called Hades, which is inside the earth. It's a place where the Most High preserved for actually the fallen angels that came down to have sex with women, boy giants. Okay, the giants had spirits that was not of the heavens. So their spirit couldn't go back into the heavens and it couldn't go into Hades. So it was here. Moses, I think it was, asked God to do something with the spirits because their sons were having problems. So the Most High put the angels in this place called Hades, which is an unfinished city, and he left 10% on the earth. Okay, so when we give up the ghost, we actually go into Hades, which was created actually for demons, and that's where they are now. But now there's a split. You have a torment side, and you have the a side what they call the bosom of Abraham, which is basically a sound sleep. But the torment side is where you don't want to go. I mean, you got all your murderers and so on and so forth. You got people that don't want to believe, that denying Christ during our time, because we get judged too, along with the people from the past. But listen to this. But as to the unjust, they are dragged by force to the left hand by the angels allotted for punishment, no longer going with a good will, but as prisoners driven by violence. The goodwill is when you give up the ghost and the angels come and they say, you know, job well done, you know, and you go into the bosom of Abraham. But the ones that the sinners and the ones that, you know, people that, you know, just, you know, don't want to listen, don't want to accept the your God, and you still living under this false God, this false doctrine, to whom are sent to the angels appointed over them, and to reproach them and threaten them with their terrible looks. Threaten them with their terrible look. That means these demons look horrible. And to thrust them still downwards. Now those angels that are set over these souls drag them into the neighborhood of hell itself, who, when they are hard by it, continually hear the noise of it. That means they hearing people screaming and do not stand clear of the hot vapor itself. But when they have a nearer view of this spectacle, as of a terrible and exceeding great prospect of fire, they are struck with a fearful expectation of a future judgment, and in effect punished thereby. See, they can see the fire, even though they're going to be punished. They see that lake of fire over there, and they know that's preserved for them. And not only so, but where they see the place of choir of the fathers and of the just, even hereby are they punished for a chaos. Chaos means that's confusion. Deep and large is fixed between them, insomuch that a just man that has compassion unto them cannot be admitted, nor can one that is unjust, if he were bold enough to attempt it, pass over it. That's that lake of fire. You're gonna have two sides, but you can't cross. See? And since we're in the end time now, we're in a time of the awakening, as it says in Hosea 6:2. Let me get that right quick. Hosea 6:2. Just to show you. Hosea 6:2. After 2 days will he retrieve us. See, yeah. Come and, okay, let me start at the beginning. Hosea 6:1. Come and let us return unto the Lord, for he has torn and he will heal us. He has smitten and he will blind us up. After 2 days will he revive us. Okay, that's 2,000 years. A day is 1,000 years, 1,000 years is a day. So you go back from the time of Christ's birth, which was around 6, something like that, 6 or 7. Then you add 2,000 years to that. That's right around 2005, 4, somewhere in there. That's why you have this Israelite movement starting to come about, and it's growing because people are starting to wake up. And I'm trying to tell you, old school, you need to be a part of it before you give up the ghost, because that's what you're going to face, what I just read. After 2 days, will he revive us? That's 2,000 years. And the third day, he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight. See? Okay. I think that's just about it. I think I'm going to end it there. I got so much stuff spread it out. I know I forgot some. I'm just at that age. But like I said, this is for Israel. This is not no church I'm trying to start up. I'm not starting up no kind of church gathering or nothing like that. I'm just doing a wake up for old school, because I think they have a right to hear, and hopefully some of them will wake up. Now, most of them probably won't, but if I get one, that's fine, because I have a friend. Matter of fact, I need to call him. He's in his mid-70s, I think. Mr. Jefferson. I need to call him. My little buddy, Charles Jefferson, his father. I think he's in his mid-70s. And he understands well, but his wife don't quite get it. And he's in his mid-70s. So I'll make some more videos with scriptures and try to bring it out to you old schools, and hopefully you can wake up. Because like my grandmother used to say, when you get a certain age, you got one foot in the grave already. You know, I'm in my mid-50s. I'm getting close to that myself. You know, a lot of this is not new to me. I've read a lot of this when I was younger, in my 20s. And my wake-up call was when I heard the elder say certain scriptures, like the Indian saying, that got me. And the book of Deuteronomy I read when I was 23. And I said, well, the Middle Eastern people must have came in and mixed with us. That's what I thought. I was with the Seventh-day Adventists, but I had no one to confirm it. So as I got older, I kept reading scriptures. And once this Israelite, this truth came to me 5 years ago, it was like, man, I knew it. The whole time I knew it. And I bawled. I cried like a baby. I knew it all these years that there was something wrong with the black people. We were hated too much by too many. And matter of fact, there's a scripture to show you that I think is in Psalm, where the world took an oath that we would see our land. Psalm. Even the book of Psalm. If I can find it right quick. Psalms 1. I think it was 130. There it is, I think. Yeah, okay. I'm going to read this and it's going to be it. Psalms 83. 1. Keep not thy silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. See? They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. You see? This is what they were doing back in the day. Let's cut them off and make sure they don't know who they are. They said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. That's why you call yourself African-American, Cuban, Hawaiian, Puerto Rican, Jamaican. As a matter of fact, yeah. There it is. Okay, African-American, West Indies, Haitians, Dominican, Panamanians, Puerto Ricos, Cubans, Cuba, North American Indians, Seminole, Argentina, Chile, Colombians, Mexicans. See, all these names are bywords. This is what this is saying. Come and let them cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more. All of these are Israel. You can't see this, but this is the 12 tribes of Israel. You can't read it, but I'm going to read it right quick. Judah is the Negroes, Benjamin, West Indians, Jamaicans, Levi, Haitians, Simeon, Dominicans, Zebulon, Panamanians, Guatemala to Panama, Ephraim, Puerto Ricans, Ephraim and Manasseh, Cubans, Gad, North American Indians, Reuben, Seminole Indians, Naphtali, Argentina and Chile, Asher, Colombia to Uruguay, Issachar, Mexicans. See, all these are bywords. Let us come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more. There it is. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. This is the Romans that are doing this. Edom, Edomites. The tabernacles of Edom, see? And the Ishmaelites. That's your Arabs of Moab. And the Hagarenes. Moab was the son of, Lot. When Lot's two daughters had sex with him because they felt that, there were no more people on the land after they had to run out, and they saw their homeland get bombed, and his wife, when his wife turned back, she turned into stone, and there was no one left but Lot and his two daughters. Well, his two daughters had sex with him. That was a sin, and the children were cursed. Today, how you can find her oldest son was called Moab, the oldest daughter, okay, the Moabites, and they have a distinct look to themselves. Today, you can. There's, I don't know if I can call it a disease, but if you take a child it's called Down syndrome, I think it is, and you go to look at the history of the Moabites and read the scripture on Lot, what Lot's daughters did. Okay, they look just alike. That was a curse that was given to the Moabites, and her youngest sister also. I forgot what she named her child, but that's where you got the slanted eyes, why they look so different. That was a curse from the Most High, because they sat there and had sex with their own father. See, that's in scripture. Gabal and Ammon and Amalek. Amalek is one of Esau's sons. And Philistines, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre, that's England and Russia. Okay. Moab, Chinese, Hagarenes, Egyptians, Gabal, that's the Africans, that's Ham. Okay, we're not Africans. Okay. Ammon, the Japanese, Amalek, the Jewish people, Palestinians, Tyre, that's Africans. Tumult, the tumult means an agreement. Okay. All of these countries came against the Hebrew Israelites, the Israelites. Made a tumult to not allow us to know who we are. Okay? Well, I'm going to end it. I'll make another one. I don't know when. But you'll probably see me with my other two brothers. And I hope this does some good to the older people, old school. And if you youngsters come across the video, let them see it. Maybe it can help them wake up. What you want them to do is you want them to question you anyway, and then you take it from there. But that's going to be it for today. I'm going to say Kwam Yashala. That's Rise, O Israel. Shalom.